Oh, my voice is trash today. Maybe I can fix it in post. We'll see. Hey everybody, I am Daddy Sam, and this is episode 70 of A Touch of Gay. This is a leather-scented discussion, my weekly sit-down with you, where I share what's going on at my kitchen table, as well as the LGBTQ plus kitchen table of the fishbowl that I find myself in. Basically the news, what's going on in the community, and I am stepping in it today. We have a lot of controversial topics to discuss, starting with cruising etiquette fails, things guys are doing wrong out there that are really hurting them, hurting their chances. We're also talking about the online leather gatekeepers in the community that are telling us this is leather. And there's also this new thing, Christian male-only lust-free gyms. That sounds like fun, doesn't it? Yeah, well, so let's get right into it. We always start our episode out with our daily inspiration, which is from our social media channels. A Touch of Gay Pod is our handle on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. We don't do the X because of the wonderful things he does. Yeah, if you get it, you get it. So the daily inspiration today is simply this: de-shame sexually transmitted infections. Now, this is a message that we get a lot, but it has to be said over and over and over again because there are a lot of people out there, pearl clutchers, judgy little bitches, and a whole bunch of people out there in the external manosphere or the person sphere that not part of the LGBTQ plus community. But there are a lot of people within our community that they still cast a lot of shade on people who have or have contracted a sexually transmitted infection. And that is STI for short. We don't use the term STD anymore, disease, sexually transmitted disease. No, we say STI, sexually transmitted infection. It's a little less shameful sounding. And I'm not trying to be PC, but that is the industry standard term these days. And I am in the industry, as it were, of testing, advocacy for medications and preparations and treatments and all of the things that have to do with STIs. So I speak from my place of experience because I'm in the conversation in the community. And the bottom line is this: if we're sex positive, we all agree that sex isn't nasty, it's not dirty, it's not immoral, then we should also agree that sexually transmitted infections are not nasty, they're not dirty, they're not immoral. Having a sexually transmitted infection, whether it's HIV, gonorrhea, syphilis, some of the skin conditions that have been coming out lately, the new stuff, it's no more something to be ashamed of than the cold that you catch on the elevator, at the event, at a family weekend. If we are engaged in a sex life that we're proud of and that we do not have shame in, we shouldn't have shame in any of the infections that we can catch when we're in close proximity with other people. De-shaming it means that we don't cast shade on people that have a status. Maybe it's HIV, or maybe they have hepatitis, things that they have to manage as a result of a sexually transmitted infection, or somebody who comes to you and says, hey, I just got tested and this happened. Maybe you should get tested yourself. Do we put shame on that person? Do we feel shame when we have to go and inform somebody? We just had sex a couple weeks ago and I just discovered I have gonorrhea. And the reason why we need to de-shame these things is because not only everything I just talked about there shouldn't be to begin with, but when we have shame about sharing with somebody our status, sometimes we don't share our status. And that can create additional infections. If we have a status we know about and we don't let somebody know about it, if we've had an experience with them, we are propagating that infection going forward. So it's a health thing. It's not only a moral thing. It's not only an emotional thing, a spiritual thing, to be honest and to be without shame in the things that we adopt as part of our creed, our life. And that's eliminating shame from it so that that's not a block to keep us from having that transparency. It's a prevention technique, just like taking medications before and after the fact. And we've talked about those things and we'll talk about them again. So don't need to have that in today's conversation. So check in, which is sort of when I share what's going on with me. And this last week, I would say the big red light on my dash has been, I've just been feeling kind of sad about what happened in Berlin. And that, of course, is the Christopher Street Day Pride celebration attack, where a person or persons drove a van through a crowd, hurt people, 29 people were injured, and one was killed. There was also some knifing that occurred after the van crashed and the person got out. And that person was eventually found by the police and was killed by the police because they tried to come after the police. This was a terrorist attack. This was a hate attack on the LGBTQ plus community. And it just makes me sad. We're in a world today where all over the world, not just in America, where we have the maggots going after everything that they think is wrong with the world. And we're part of that equation for them. But the general tide around the world is there's a lot of backlash towards our community. And we're not the only ones having backlash. There's a lot of minorities out there. The more proud we get, the more out front we become, the more we are a subject of attacks. And it's a sad state of the world, but it is what it is. So I've just been going through it a little bit around this week. It just makes me sad, makes me disappointed that people have to hate so much that they escalate to taking violence out against people. And there's a lot of people out there that I disagree with in the world that I think are just out of their minds, that I would never live a life the way they live, but I wouldn't commit or wish violence upon them. I might argue against them. I might advocate for laws to protect us against them, punish them if they do break the law. So just watch yourselves. Be safe when we are in large gatherings of our community. Even though statistically we've been safe, we always need to be on the lookout for those crazy things that can happen. So, all right, moving on to the controversy. Cruising etiquette fails. And today, there's a lot of different kinds of fails, but I'm talking about the pushy person that just won't take no for an answer, and they have a sense of entitlement, like you owe it to them, right? And I've met this person at bathhouses. I've met this person at adult stores. I've met this person at sex parties, and I've met this person at bars where they come at you like you owe them what's between your legs. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's bottoms. I've met tops and bottoms that had this pushy, entitled behavior. They just assume that you're into them. They assume that you're going to give whatever you have to them. They just keep coming at you. And there's all sorts of behaviors around this. The first one is they assume that you're interested. I've walked into a bathhouse on more than one occasion where there is that person that's hovering right around the entry door and looking at everybody that comes in. And I've had a person follow me to my room and hold my hand and try to help me open the door to get my key in the lock. And I've had to go, I think I got this. Thank you. And they'll go, okay, well, do you want me to come in with you? No, not really. I just got here. I need to disrobe and take care of myself. If I run into you in the hall, fine, we'll talk. But right now, I need you to just get out of the way and not be this pushy and this clingy. And I've run into other people in the same types of places where they've come to me and started either touching me or they have tried to engage in sex acts before even discussing what I was looking for, if I'm looking for top or bottom, or if I'm versatile, or if it's okay for them to touch me. They're just proceeding without consent. Today we preach consent. You always get consent, whether that's a verbal cue, whether it's a visual cue, whether it's a discussion where you discuss these things in detail. You should always get some level of consent before you start touching somebody and engaging in a sex act. Whether you're top or bottom, it matters not. Another person that I run into is the one that can't take no for an answer. The book that Leo Herrera put out, Analog Cruising, has a great guide in there about some of the cues that somebody is telling a little pat, a slight push away, some kind of a hand signal is usually a good indication of a no, I'm not into that. No, don't do that. And I've had many occasions where somebody's come at me in one of these places and they've tried to touch or engage me in some way that I wasn't into or I wasn't looking for, or maybe I wasn't into that person, and they just kept at it. I can remember one specific person where, I don't yell at people. I don't get violent. But I was in a steam room once and this guy comes over and starts getting into me. And I said, no, I'm good. And he stepped back for a second. Then he came right back in and started getting into me. And I said, no, I said, I'm good. And he came back a third time and I had to go, look, back off. I said I was good. And then he got all pissy and walked away. And that gets me to the other person that gets indignant about rejection. Look, if you're going to go into one of these places and you're going to be cruising for people, you need to be prepared for rejection. Not everybody's into you. You are not entitled to everybody there. They may not want what you're offering. Maybe they've come in with a specific idea in mind as to what they're looking for, what they want to do. And maybe what you're offering them isn't on that list. It's not always about you. Sometimes it's about them. I have met people that I've rejected, and I didn't say I reject you, but I said, no, not right now, or that's not what I'm looking for, or whatever that may be. And later, they're giving me angry stares or they're making snide comments. I had a guy at a place one time, right after I got there, he comes in like I owe this to him, and he starts engaging me in a sex act. And I said, no, not right now. I just got here. I need to adjust a little bit. And he goes, okay. And so he comes back a couple of minutes later. Are you ready? And I said, no, not right now. And so I ended up getting busy with some other people. He watched because he hung by close. He was helicoptering. And after I was done with that person, he goes, oh, I missed my opportunity. How come you didn't do that with me? And he was asking me why I didn't do that with him instead of with the other person. And I didn't want to be rude. I didn't want to tell him, because you're pushy and you're arrogant and you're entitled. It's not sexy. And that's really the gist of this entire thing. And I don't want to sound like I'm bottom shaming, because I have met tops that are pushy and entitled. If you're a pushy and entitled person that just assumes that some guy is just there to serve you, and that because you showed up, he owes you what's between his legs, that's not sexy. It isn't. And if you're that person to me, if I meet you in one of these places, chances are I'm going to go, no, thank you, not right now. And you're not going to see me again. You're going to find me busy with other people, because it's a turnoff. Always ask. It's always good to communicate. If you meet somebody that you're interested in, maybe before you start doing things, touching them and engaging them in something, maybe ask them what they want. Every person that's out there cruising always has something that they're always up against. Everyone assumes when they see me that I'm a top, that that's what I am there to do. And that's not always the case, right? Sometimes I have no interest in that whatsoever, but everybody comes at me and starts engaging me as if I'm a top that they're entitled to. And I guess that really is why this whole thing rubs me the wrong way, is because sometimes I don't want that. Sometimes I want to do other things. It always helps if somebody asks, because it helps clear the air. It helps get rid of confusion. It helps to not have either one of us wasting our time with fraudage or other things that's not going to get us anywhere, because we're not compatible in what it is we're looking for. So communicate. Don't be pushy. And when you're rejected, when somebody says, no, not right now, not what I'm looking for, whatever that is, it's not always about you. Now we have to talk about the online leather community gatekeepers. A lot of people call them old guard, and I don't think that's fair to the old guard to call them these gatekeepers, but most of them are coming off with old guard ideas. This is mostly an online phenomenon, right? So in the wake of Honey Davenport winning IML last May, the online leather community erupted, and it's still a ruckus about the debate around what is leather, because Honey Davenport is a trailblazer. He won IML for a reason, because he brought something interesting, different, and a lot of talent to the table. And I'll be honest with you, I was rooting for somebody else, right? I wasn't Honey Davenport. I wasn't team Honey Davenport. I was team somebody else who came in second place, and I was sad he didn't win, because he's a good friend of mine, but he still did very well, second place. So I'm not somebody who's shilling for Honey Davenport, but Honey Davenport is talented. He's beautiful. He brought his A game, and he has a long history in the community as a drag queen, as a performer, doing a lot of different things that are not the typical Tom of Finland model. And boy, did the online community just go crazy, complaining and bitching and arguing and debating. And it was actually just a few old codgers out there that sit behind their keyboard, bitching and moaning, probably about everything else in the world too. What I will tell you is that most of this debate that I have seen, and I watched it, and this is my first time sort of weighing in on this thing, because I try not to, when I see fools arguing with each other, I try not to get in the middle of it. But I've actually had some of our listeners go, Sam, you need to talk about this. What I will say is this: most of the argument, most of the debate, most of the drama, most of the bad behavior by people, the leather gatekeeping, as it were, the people telling everybody else what should be leather, what is leather, and that's not leather. It was really brought into the fold by Honey Davenport, a drag queen winning International Mr. Leather. A leather drag queen, I'd point out. But most all of this is on the IMLBB Facebook group. And it has to be pointed out that the IMLBB Facebook group, and I'm not denigrating that Facebook group, but it is not IMLBB. It is not the leather community. It is not the event International Mr. Leather and Boot Black. It is not the community who shows up and goes to the event. It is not the people who compete at the event. It is not the judges at the event. It is not the people that I met at the event. All of this drama that's been happening online didn't happen at the event. When Honey Davenport won that event, there was widespread support, widespread adulation. There was none of this, well, a drag queen can't win Mr. Leather. That's not Tom of Finland. Oh, there was none of that. None of that. There was none of that drama. It just bears pointing out that this is an online face group, mostly comprised of people that don't actually go to these events, that don't actually participate in them, and you don't actually see most of them in person at these events. I'm going to step in it, and I'm just going to say it. These are people that sit behind the keyboard, just like any other troll, any other warrior out there, debating politics, debating whatever it is, bitching and moaning about the world, as it were, and how it's not the way they want it. They're living in some kind of fantasy world that is not rooted in the reality. They should actually go to some leather events and see what they look like, because if they think that the leather community should be all about the Tom of Finland look, and that's a good look, don't get me wrong, if they think that, they would be horrified walking around the hotel during IMLBB, because there is everything there. Rubber, there's gender fluid people with gender fluid outfits, there's pups, there's latex, there's everything, pigs, there's just, it's amazing what there is, furries even. Oh no, furries. The point is, these people are not leather. And the group, if you look at their group description, it is a fan club for IMLBB. It is not an official group of IMLBB. It is a fan club put together by fans. This whole thing came about not because I wanted to step into the argument about what is leather or not. I'm not going to go there, because I live in the leather community. I know what it is to me, and I know what it is to many of the different people that I call friends, and it's different to every one of them. What we wear, what we bring to the table, the kinks, the fetishes, the sub-tribes that we interact with, I can't even count how many of those there are. There are so many sub-tribes within the leather fetish kink community that to say this is leather is just tomfoolery. It's silliness. And only somebody on the internet being a troll would dare try to do that. This is not leather. This community online is not in and of itself leather. You want to know what leather is? Leather's a family. Leather's not an outfit. It's not a creed. It's not a behavior. It's not a lifestyle in the sense of, BDSM. It doesn't have to be any of those things. It can be whatever the person who is wearing it, who puts it on and feels like they're expressing themselves and who and what they are. And a community of those people, they get together and they click. And it's always changing and evolving. And that's what I think a lot of these folks online that are behind the keyboard being warriors, telling everybody else what leather should be, what they don't get is if you are somebody who's gone to these events year after year after year after year, even inside of a 10-year period, it changes. It changes what people are wearing, the styles, what people are talking about, what's important, because it's as much about the family and the issues and the things people bring to the table as it is about what they're wearing. That's really what gets us to Honey Davenport won. Not because he wore the right outfit or wore the wrong outfit. He won because there was a panel of judges that came from all walks of life, all walks of leather, and around the world, different cultures, different countries, and they all sat down and he got the best score. That's it. So it wasn't one person said, okay, this is leather, Honey Davenport's leather now. No, it was a whole panel of judges that came from a wide variety of backgrounds. So yeah, come to some events. You'll learn what leather is. Catch of the week. This is a new feature. I think this is my third or fourth week in on this, where something that catches my eye and makes me chuckle or makes me sigh. And this one kind of does both. Christian influencers are opening up male-only, lust-free gyms because women just can't be allowed around men, right? Because they're cheating on their wives, they're cheating on their girlfriends, they're committing sins because they can't deal with having women next to them at the gym, sucking them into lust and seducing them. They don't have any control. So to live in Christ, they're creating male-only gyms. Yeah, that'll solve the problem. Christian fitness influencers have sparked a viral online debate by opening men-only, lust-free gyms. These spaces aim to help men avoid perceived temptations in traditional fitness centers. Why are we men only? Who are we? Asked Jeff Hambrecht, founder of the Proverbs 2717 Fitness Center in Oklahoma City. In a nutshell, one of the number one places affairs and infidelity occur, cheating, is the gym. Yeah, I agree. Mitch Parsons, the founder of Youth Group for Men and Remnant Men in Denver, had a similar experience. I quit 4 gyms before I built one, he says. I realized the problem wasn't the gym. It was that no one had built what I actually needed or what I wanted. I was tired of having nakedness shoved in my face every time I walked in the gym to train, Parsons claims. I had to choose between honoring the Lord, honoring my wife, and guarding my eyes, or training my body. So I quit 4 gyms. Both male-only gyms take inspiration from Proverbs 27:17, which says, "Iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another." I agree with that too. One man sharpens another. Woof. Forgive them, for they know not what they do. Is somebody going to tell these guys this isn't going to work? I mean, if they think that they have to have a men-only gym to avoid lust, they're going to find out something a little bit different, I think. And so I suggest that all of you men out there who might be watching or listening, maybe join one of these gyms and help them out with that. Now, this has made a lot of waves out there in social media, a lot of jibes, a lot of making fun and hoo-ha. But if you really want to read the article where this whole thing came from, baptistnews.com. Link is in the show notes here on YouTube as well as down in the information. Yeah, good Christians. So that is our episode for today. atouchofgay.com is our website. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. We don't do the X because of the wonderful things he does. A Touch of Gay Pod is, of course, our handle. Our audio podcast drops every Sunday on all the major platforms. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can see all the chiclets on the screen, all the different logos of the different platforms. But YouTube is where you can sometimes get us early. Friday, Saturday, it depends on when I get it done. Always a little bit early. And of course, if you are watching this on YouTube, you can see what I'm wearing. And today that is my black leather vest with contrast stitching that I made a little bit earlier this spring for IML. And this is one of the official IMLBB t-shirts because I went there. We talked about that, didn't I? So I got this at Chicago. Leather equals family. Even drag queens. You can see our latest video right to my left if you're watching us on YouTube, or to your right. And right below that, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. But if you're listening to one of our podcasts on a platform out there, please subscribe there. We need to build our subscribership. We need to build our support. So please do leave a review as well. Either way, stay tuned.